Welcome back. Brian Calfano along with our Ozarks First contributors, Nick Reed, who's also over at KSGF 1041, and Amy Blancett, who is the head of the Drew Lewis Foundation. Good to see both of you. And let's talk about Me Too, you two. It seems as though the Me Too movement has become a club, a political battering ram, if you will, to essentially go at your political opponents with. I say this because former Vice President Joe Biden has been accused of sexually assaulting a staffer back in 1993 when he was the Democratic senator from Delaware. And it's interesting because a lot of the Democratic politicians who were all over accusations against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation hearings in 2018 seem to be essentially silent or a little less enthused about getting to the bottom of these accusations. And I wonder, Nick, if essentially this means that the Me Too movement as an independent social, economic, and political movement is dead.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if they switch it from hashtag Me Too to hashtag Nevermind, because that certainly seems to be the situation now. I have long recognized that there are a number of issues, this sounds so obvious, are used for political purposes, but it is on such absolute clear display. And one of sexual harassment, sexual assault, clearly in the last few decades, we have seen that it's all dependent on whether or not the victim is going to be beneficial to one political party over the other. Now, of course, we know the Clinton years, and that was all boys will be boys. And, well, he did a lot of great things for women in terms of laws. And so, you sort of look at the return on investment there. And we heard all the time, we're not electing the Pope, regarding allegations of everything from consensual, which of course we would later be told it's not consensual if they're a subordinate, but that's the way it was described, to sexual assault allegations that were he said, she said. Well, then of course comes this other era with Trump, in which the funny thing about Trump and the Access Hollywood tape, so he was talking about a consensual sort of relationship there, but there was total outrage. Total outrage. Hats were made in the form of body parts to protest it. People would say, how can anybody with a daughter support this guy? Well, now all of a sudden we've got what more and more people are recognizing as credible allegations against Joe Biden. Although there isn't any proof, one of the things, and I agree with this, if you have somebody who makes an allegation and there are people that, 20 years ago they were talking to about it, that does make it seem more likely, particularly if all of these people are supporters of the person that's being accused, which she was. And some of those who are admitting, yeah, she told us about this, are saying, yeah, and I'm still going to vote for him anyhow. So it's not like there's a political component to this. But this now we're supposed to pretend like it doesn't matter, or some are taking the position, well, you really have to weigh it against the greater good. Alyssa Milano has become a bit of a figurehead for hypocrisy on this, because she went to the Kavanaugh hearings and really towed that line, every victim should be believed, and now she's a supporter of Biden's. And she penned an op-ed piece that was in Deadline saying that, it's really actually a gray area, and we can't be expected as women to condemn everyone who's accused of sexual assault, and we don't have any choice. We have to vote for Joe Biden anyway. Well, no, you don't have to. It's just a matter of priorities. And I'll tell you something else. For all the talk that there used to be about the sort of environment that discourages victims from coming forward, this is it. This is it 100%. It is the presentation of either ignoring the person or defending the person in power that they have long said makes it less likely for victims to come forward.
Now, Amy, what about that? Does the way that these accusations have been handled essentially make it harder for people who have claims to come forward?
So now we had politics into something that is so personal, right? Someone was taken advantage of. And so when we start adding media, when we start adding politics, the victims, of course, they don't want to come forward. When we're seeing, hundreds of hours played into the victim, and then even worse, now that there's this big global media that's going on about what's happening, it's overshadowing these stories. So the Me Too effort was huge, and it was supposed to be a big part of the 2020 campaign. And instead, now we're talking about, health and global issues and other things. So it seemed like we were having such great conversation at a national level about just the nature of the workplace and politics and how they play in these sexual environments. And now that story's gone. So for individuals who are worried about this person's ethics and morals should be in question, but if I come forward, I myself might become a victim of the media as well. But also then the story may just be overshadowed by, the next shiny thing that's come up. So yeah, absolutely. It makes the victims less likely to come forward. What's the point in coming forward? We've created an environment where, like, you're at fault for being in the presence of, right, a politician who might be inappropriate around you, and nothing's going to be done about it because we've accepted as a country that, you know what, so-and-so did it. We had a family tiff because, here's Biden with his allegation. And it was like, well, what about our current president and the, not only just allegations, but him acknowledging his sexual indiscretions. And it's like, well, everyone does it. It's like, is that an argument?
A lot of hypocrisy to go around, but such an important issue for so many in the workplace. Nick Reed and Amy Blancett, our Ozarks First contributors, we thank you. And we'll be back after this.